Hello everyone, thanks for joining and checking us out once again. As you can see, we added another cool ride to the garage. This is a 2025 Ford Explorer ST, and it comes, among many other cool features, with these factory wheels. I'm going inside just because it's scorching hot and humid outside and I don't feel like dealing with it. Sorry for the quasi-decent lighting. These are 21-inch wheels with this kind of funky design. There are pictures and videos of these things all over the place, but as much as they look decent and have that grayish hue and kind of makes sense, I guess, with the overall design of the car, especially with the vapor blue and our black roof option, still didn't really like the full kind of aesthetic of this. So decided, you know what, why don't we try instead and replace them with the prior generations, the 23, 24, maybe even a couple of years down from that. The ST wheels that would come from factory were these guys. And we got a really good deal. Definitely want to give a shout out to Utah Wheels for allowing us to buy these very gently used sets that we have here. So we're going to go through and just do a couple of comparisons side by side, as well as give you a better feel of what the new setup is going to look like. So the factory set is spec'd out with 21-inch radius, just as the tire says. Aspect ratio 45, which is 45% of the width of the tire, which happens to be 275 millimeters across. This is a Pirelli Scorpion Zero, and unless I'm wrong, it is the exact same tire on the prior generation set. Pirelli Scorpion, and taking a look at, sorry for my shadow, the spec, still it's hard to tell, I know it's upside down, 275, 45, R21. So 1-to-1, the exact same set. Now, the one thing I didn't technically do, and I'm sure you can do some research, is to just validate the width of the old wheel versus the newer wheel, as well as just by looking at it, I'm almost positive that this factory wheel has a higher offset than the one we're putting on from the older generation car. See how you can even tell how much more concave the older generation wheel looks as opposed to this one, which is more flush. So the offset, and it's always backwards, I always get it mixed up, but the so-called offset is the higher the number, the more flush against the hub that the wheel sits on it is. And the lower the number, the more away from the hub it's going to look and the more aggressive it's going to look. So I'm almost positive that once we put that on, it's going to look more aggressive than this. So aside from that offset factor, the other measure I just can't exactly do because the inside barrel of the wheel is not flat enough for me to give you exact width measurement, but I'm sure you can just look it up online. The bolt pattern on these wheels, as well as those, which is the same that Ford Explorers have had, I believe, for at least a few generations, is 5 by 114.3, which really just means there are 5 lug nuts because it's mounted on 5 of these studs that sit on the hub, and the 114.3 millimeters or 4.5 inches. Sometimes it's called, this pattern is called 5 by 4.5 sometimes. Just means that the distance between the farthest from each other bolts is going to be 4.5 inches. That's really all that is. So it's the exact same bolt pattern as the prior generation wheel that we're going to put on. Also, we already have the one of the lugs off, just in the ease of illustration. Your factory lug is one of these, shorter with a pretty wide seat like this at the bottom. They're not straight, just straight through. They have this bulge type seat so that when you bolt on, this bulging out part ends up holding the wheel to the hub that much stronger. the pattern of the bolt itself, the inside pattern, is, I believe, and please make sure to just double check, don't just take my word for it, we're using a lug that I thought was going to be a better alternative. Turned out not to be the case, but it's 1.5 thread is the pattern. This 14 number on this aftermarket black lug indicates its height, but the mistake I made, there were two actually. I don't like these shiny lugs. I was hoping to go black ones, but as you can tell, the black one is taller than the factory one, and this bulge, this seat, is definitely not as wide as the factory one is. This is a critical consideration when you go aftermarket lugs, because what you definitely don't want to have happen is when you put the lug on here and that bulging part is not wide enough to hold the wheel tight against the hub, and before you know it, you got bad threads, wheels, God forbid, falling off, or lugs flying off, or whatever the heck. I mean, all sorts of things could happen. Point is, you have to make sure, if you're going aftermarket, to replicate this exact same lug. And that's what we're going to do next. When I find a good match, I'll definitely post it up. Found a good set of black lug nuts instead of the factory ones like we were hoping. So we got your factories that we talked about, look like that. And looks like Aisin are the guys that make the black version of the exact same lug. It's 14 by 1.5. I mean, there's a, I guess, whatever UPC barcode. Now this has 15 to 20 Ford, but really it fits on any Ford just because they pretty much have all the same lugs, at least on the SUVs. Just to prove the point, here is how Aisin pack comes, and it is literally the identical lug, M14 by 1.5. Here they are side by side, and obviously this looks much better than that. I would say there is one subtle difference, or maybe not that subtle, but depends on how nitpicky you are. Factory ones have this kind of wider part here before it hits the lip or the seat or whatever you want to call it. These Aisins, it has it shorter. So this lug is actually technically shorter than the factory one. I'm trying to put them side by side so you can kind of tell the difference. It's a bit shorter. I don't really have a measure, but it depends how you compare the two. Roughly there's your height difference, ballpark, something like that, but should fit no problem. And here is the new lug mounted on the wheel compared to the factory one. Regardless of what angle you look at, it's the exact same amount of length that they stick out, whatever the right way to say that is, just really because that lip that's on the seat of the lug is exactly the same. It's just that the aftermarket one is slightly shallower, but as long as you torque it down right, it really shouldn't be a problem. The other part that I can appreciate the security of it, that I definitely hate on this, is the wheel lock. Wheel lock, great, no question. We don't want cool wheels stolen if we are in shady neighborhoods at any point in time. But these factory ones, they are just sticking out. I mean, aesthetically, I just absolutely hate that. So whenever we go the upgrade route, definitely going to figure out a much better way to find a wheel lock that is not jacked out of the place that far. Your lug pattern, or I'm sorry, not pattern, size from factory is 21 millimeter. And quick little, you certainly don't have to have it this way, but quick call out on this attachment. You can get this on Amazon. These guys, I have them in different sizes, but this plastic surround on top of the attachment does a few things. One is, when you're in there trying to undo it, if you're not using some sort of power tool, I prefer to always do hand tighten and hand loosen, but is that this plastic prevents any kind of metal on metal scratches to your wheels, especially if they're nice ones like those that we're going to be putting on. So this prevents this hard plastic type surround prevents that from happening. Plus, when you hold this piece by hand while rotating the wrench, it slides, so it lets you just basically hold this in place while you're spinning the wrench back and forth. So it's pretty cool all around. So just wanted to give a quick plug to using this type of tool to help you out. Here's a side-by-side with the wheel lock off, and just reinforcing my point. I mean, maybe that's a don't care for some of you, but I just can't take it. I mean, look at this. The lug looks like it just, maybe obviously not twice the size, but still it just sticks out so much further away. I don't know why they couldn't have just done this kind of lug with the wheel lock pattern on it. Not a scientist, I don't know, maybe some sort of structural weakness or something, who the heck knows, doesn't matter. But there's just no way that I'm going to be able to tolerate having this on these wheels for too much longer. Here they are, side by side. You got the older generation, ironically the new wheel set, so to speak. Cleaner, shinier than the factory one. Granted, I still need to wipe it down a little bit more to clean it up a little, but still the look is this kind of matte gray versus gloss black. These should be exact same total height, you know, and obviously you have to assume that different kind of pressure on the tire is going to probably not necessarily be one-to-one, so this is like a very general ballpark figure, not exact, kind of like tread to tread. Looks to be like 30-ish top to bottom, more or less across the whole deal, which I would expect both to be exactly the same if the tire spec is the same. Kind of net looks to be pretty much it. What's interesting though, when you look at these things kind of more in person, for some reason or other, even though the radius is the same, the shinier wheel, it looks with the tire that somehow the tire is more kind of low profile. Sorry, I don't know if that really makes any sense. Maybe it's just because of how the inner lip is, or maybe it isn't, I don't know. But regardless, just by looking at these before I even put it on the car, I like the old school ones much better. Again, just personal preference.
One eternity later.
Okay, we are halfway through. Here's the passenger side wheel set that went on. And just for one final reference, here's the look on the driver's side. Just wanted to do another point proof, so to speak, that these definitely are more aggressive with lower offset than the 2025 factory set, simply by doing this. The clearance of the spoke to the brake. This, and again, it depends, of course, where exactly you measure on which side, but I'm just going to take it like right around where the turn is. So say here-ish. It's about 2.5 or so. Or really on the inner side is where it matters the most, especially if you're doing caliper covers. If you, like we're going to do custom MGPs, people are always concerned whether it's going to clear or not. So here it's about 1.5 or so, and kind of in the narrower part, if that's the right way to say it, looks like to be about half, as opposed to the other side where you have clearance of the brake from kind of the wider part. The widest part is about 1.5. The narrowest part is roughly the same. So again, no issues with rubbing, with being able to add additional caliper covers, what have you. Definitely a good decision so far. One other experiment that we thought would make sense to validate any kind of decisions here being made about these wheels is to roll them up on the scale. It's alright. Filming with one hand, I realize not the most advanced video. If this is a break-even point for you, tolerating my casts, please unsubscribe. Let's see. So roughly 75.4 pounds on the new wheel. And we're going to roll on the factory 2025 wheel. We get about a pound difference. Now again, it's, you know, how calibrated the scale isn't. Is that 1 pound, 1.5 pound difference a big deal? And here they are. We went from these to these. Gonna get some in the sun pictures or video maybe for sure, but 100% an absolute worthwhile decision. From the looks to the finish to the combination, specifically in this case of the black painted roof with the vapor blue down again to the shiny gloss rim, it just really makes the car. So in the unlikely event that somebody from Ford actually sees this, guys, totally love the redesign for the 2025, the facelift, the rears, what have you, but the wheels sometimes make or break the car. Not saying these are a bad choice, they certainly are unique enough. That matte finish is cool, but this just is definitely something that should have been considered and have been left alone. Thanks all.